Hey, I'm
Hi,
good, Angela.
how you
I'm
doing?
good, baby. How are you?
Oh man, I'm looking at you. Okay, so everybody,
Yes.
this is Rufus Bonds Jr.
Hello, everybody.
It's one of the most talented brothers I know, one of my dearest friends.
Yes.
He's written a beautiful play about the life of his mother called The Sisters of Rosewall High. And look for it. We gonna get it out there. Look for it. And he recently stepped away from his amazing career to get his master's degree in directing. And he's now a director and teaching. And tell us where you're teaching, Rufus.
Syracuse University.
Yes. I don't know why I've been like, just emotions on my sleeve lately. Well, I do know why. I guess we all know why. We've all probably been that way.
Absolutely.
But having traveled the country with this guy, I have never felt, besides being with my husband, and my husband makes me feel this way. My daddy made me feel this way. So protected by a friend. He would never let me walk anywhere by myself. Am I lying, Tanya? He just had us. He had all the ladies in the cast.
Had to.
What can I do for you? Where are you going? You're not going there alone. Let me take you. We would tease Rufus because he would speak to everybody. And we would say, you don't know the people. But every city, and I'm Southern, so we speak to people, but every city we went to, Rufus would be like, hello, how are you? So that gives you, besides just seeing his smile, you kind of know, but that gives you a little glimpse into the kind of man that that's on here today. So how are you, my brother?
I'm okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. You were talking about having your emotions on your sleeves, and I have done that. I've been in and out. Heaviness comes, I call friends so we can laugh. I call friends so we can talk. I call friends so we can cry, all of the above.
Yeah.
But I'm okay.
Okay.
I'm okay.
Okay. You wrote a post on Facebook that says, yesterday I reached out to a few brothers because I needed to hear their voices and I needed to help to dissolve the heaviness weighing on my mind, my spirit, my soul, and being, trying to understand what is it that someone needs so badly that they seek to find it in killing someone who looks like me. I called my son to make sure he was okay. We talked yet again on how to stay safe.
Yes.
Beautiful. And what does that conversation sound like?
The conversation is, first of all, like I stated, how are you? Do you understand what's going on?
Mm-hmm.
Do you understand the things that we've been discussing about what you need to do, how you need to walk in the world? And then I will bring back a memory. Remember when we were in the parking lot driving and this lady stopped and backed up abruptly. And I said, Miss, you can cross. She said, I'm not getting in front of you. And it was clearly because I was black. And she thought that I was whatever she thought. And my son was in the car with me. And as we drove, I said, okay, you have a great day. And as we drove away, I said, do you understand what I've been telling you? I said, do you see what I've been telling you? And he said, yes, Dad, I understand. That it doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter about your dignity. It doesn't matter about your integrity. It doesn't matter if you have a three-piece suit on or a hoodie. You're viewed the same. And
Yeah.
that's what we talk about. We talk about how to be aware because he's grown up in a community that doesn't look like him,
Mm-hmm.
and because they accept him, I have to make sure he remembers there's another world out there that looks at you in a different way.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, thank goodness you're doing that work, because that would be a terrible thing to have to realize in the moment.
You got that right.
Yeah.
And growing up, my father would always begin to tell me things, but then he would begin to cry and walk away.
Oh, wow.
So he would never finish because the pain was too great.
Yeah.
And so I grew up in a community that in my junior high school was multicultural, although it was not in the middle class. It was in the ghetto. It's just that we was all there together, you know.
The
And so
ghetto
I
looked
grew
very
up.
different then.
Oh yeah, the world was different then, and I
Mm-hmm.
grew up with that community and learning that we also grew up in the church. You had that foundation. And you grew up learning that perhaps we can, live amongst each other.
Mm-hmm.
But then you go out into another community where I'm being chased with a gun because I'm in that community. You go to college where the police are following you. You go to New York where you slam up against the wall when you're trying to help a friend with guns pointed to you. This policeman, he was plain clothes, and he was following me, and I'm like, "Are you following me?" And he didn't say anything. I said, "Do I look like a thief?" He said, "You look like the snatch and run kind." I said, "Well, you come into this store while I pay for this iron and go home. How about that?" Just talking to the man. I didn't realize at that time you don't need to talk like that to a police officer if you want to keep your life.
Yeah.
But you learn,
You learn. Yeah.
and you have friends that teach you as well.
Really?
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
you had some older friends that taught you, or just some wiser friends?
Russell Joe Brown.
Really?
Every time we would drive, we were doing Lion King in Des Moines, Iowa.
Mm-hmm.
And we would drive to Chicago on the weekends.
Mm-hmm.
And every time we would drive there, because I had a Benz, we would get stopped. And this one time, and it was new, so it didn't have a tag yet. And one time we were driving back to Des Moines, and the policeman was talking to me, and I said, "You don't understand. There's the tag's back there's a temporary tag." And I got out the car to show him. And so then nothing happened. I got back in the car. Russell was so angry at me. He said, "If you ever get out of a car again, you may not get back in." I said, "Okay." But I'm like, I got to prove my point.
Rufus.
I know. I learned.
Yeah. Okay. I'm glad you did.
I
Lord.
know. And that goes back to being taught when you do the right things, when you've done nothing wrong, you defend yourself. No, 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 no,
Yeah.
no, you don't. Not like
Yeah.
that. Not if you want your life today.
Yeah. You got to do that later.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It's interesting. You say, "I'm good by myself." We say that at times, and I am pretty good by myself.
Mm-hmm.
But I've never been by myself for forever. Like, so
Without knowing when you're not going to
exactly.
be. Yeah.
Exactly. And so you FaceTime a lot, you Zoom a lot, you talk a lot, you talk every day, to people
Mm-hmm.
to get that contact, because it's amazing how the lack of contact, though I am fine in my mind, and nothing wrong with my head, but the lack of human contact is real,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
And I reach out to my son, when he's available.
Yeah. Well,
Exactly.
at that age.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But it's interesting. I talk to people to try to make sure, even in the midst of this, you figure out how to find yourself
Mm.
and how to really figure out what you want to say and do in the world You know, what is really your purpose in the midst of this? Because when you come out of this, that's who you should be and go towards,
Yeah.
not reaching back to something that doesn't exist anymore, because we are different.
Yeah.
Hopefully we've grown.
Amen. Yeah. I'm 100% down with protesting, have been my whole life.
Mm-hmm.
But to see the young people today,
Mm-hmm.
it really blessed my heart.
You know, movements have always come from the youth.
Mm-hmm.
They have always. And I believe that today our youth is in a different place than where we were.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I do remember the riots. I was young then, I was a child, but I remember the riots were like 2 streets over from where I lived. And at that time, I was terrified because I didn't really know what was going on, but I
Mm-hmm.
heard the sirens and I heard the danger, and I was terrified at that time. I'm not scared right now.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not terrified in that way. It's different, more
Wow.
so than angry,
Yeah.
you know, than scared.
Yeah. What do you put that anger? Because I've never seen you angry. So how do you process that anger?
Um, I write.
Mm-hmm.
I think of new ideas to create, but I go back and I've been listening to a lot of gospel music
Mm-hmm.
um, on Alexa, and it takes me back to the beginning
Mm-hmm.
of where I started in terms
Mm-hmm.
of music and the voice and all of that. And it's a
Yeah.
remembrance of what I was taught, you
Wow.
know, and all of those things come up in me that yields to power, you know,
Mm-hmm.
not sadness, but the power of that, you
Yeah.
know, the
Yeah.
power of standing on truth.
Yeah. Who's been standing out? What song has
Uh,
been standing out?
uh, I'm so grateful. That
Mm.
song,
Mm-hmm.
it always washes and take me down. You
Yes.
know,
Yes.
it really, really does. And
Yeah.
it's and I am grateful. I've been very blessed. And I
Mm-hmm.
know that.
Yeah.
I know that. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
very, very grateful for that. And what I'm really grateful for is that I can pour into others,
Wow.
you know, and allow
Yeah.
them to see that things are possible in
Mm-hmm.
spite of how it looks.
Yeah. Yeah. But you've always been a pouring into others. How can others, how can we, your sisters, um, your white counterparts, how can we pour into you?
Mm.
What can we do to sort of ease some of what you're going through right now?
I think realizing that we're all connected. And what happens to one happens to the other, no matter what it looks like.
Mm-hmm.
And also, if we can teach one another to go after what they believe in, what they dream, because if that is your focus is not on taking, and it's not on taking somebody else down,
Mm-hmm.
but your focus is on building yourself up and building somebody else up.
Mm,
And that in turns build me up.
I see.
Because that's what I speak to, and even in class, it's all about what is your voice? What do you want to say?
Mm-hmm.
What is it that only you can say and can do? What is that?
Mm-hmm.
You know, and no matter what has happened to you in your life, use it. You know,
Wow.
don't throw it away because it's real.
Yeah.
So by people going after what they want,
Mm-hmm.
that is good,
Mm-hmm.
that builds up others,
Yeah.
builds me up.
Wow. So then to see a world where people feel hopeless and their dreams aren't valid and they're not pursuing purpose, um, that doesn't do anything for you um, as a Black man as you're trying to continue to pour out as you do. But what
Exactly.
does do it for you is when you see people around you pursuing purpose and pursuing their dreams, then you feel more hopeful about the world. Did I say it right? Did I get it right?
You said it spot on. Exactly. Exactly. You know, we have a responsibility to, I have a responsibility to make sure that brothers in particular who look like me are encouraged, especially the young brothers. And that if I've walked where you've walked, I am going to give you the information to know how to get where I am. It's your choice to take it, but it is my responsibility to give it to you.
Right. Right.
And I do it for all.
Mm-hmm.
I do it for all. But when I see someone who looks like me, I feel what they feel.
Yeah.
And know what they're going through.
Yeah.
Especially in an institution.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We have to do that. I mean,
Absolutely.
that's how you create legacy. You pass it on.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
if you never pass it on, then you don't have a legacy. It's not a competition. It really isn't. Nobody in the world can do what you can do.
Exactly. Exactly. And that's a hard thing, especially in our industry, for people to realize that it's really not competing against someone else. You know, when I went back and started in this business, I started over and I was already 28, 26, I think. I went back to school. So I hadn't had any experience in this. So there was no competing, but there was watching and learning and asking a lot of questions. Because you're absolutely right. The only person you really compete with is yourself.
Right.
Because it's those voices in your head that stops you or propels you forward.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. So what do, in your mind, with all of this, with everything that we're going through, collectively, which I think is so powerful, you know, one man, something horrible happens to him, one person, something horrible happens to them. That's bad, and we need to grieve it. But we are all collectively grieving on some level. What do we do with that? Like, how do we make the world, in your opinion, a better place for our children? How do we take it all and make it better for your son and my son? Because I think that's our biggest motivation right now. For me, it is anyway.
I agree. I think part of the challenge with that, Angela, is we've lost our community. I think part of it is we don't have Miss Ethel down the street who's going to make sure you're doing the right thing while you're going home. We don't have people who you can send your children to and you know they're going to be fine no matter what. We don't talk anymore because we feel that we've gotten to a place where we can rise by ourselves. It's as if it feels like the further we grow in terms of financial power, the greater we dissipate in terms of our culture. You know, where are the fish fries? Who has no fish fries? Ain't nobody have no fish fry. You know what I'm saying? Who's visiting who? Who goes to whose house? You know what I'm saying?
Listen, I still have fish fries. I have fish, well, not during the quarantine, but
Last
in
time I had
general,
a fish
before
fry
the
was at your
quarantine.
mama's house.
I have fish. You had fish and grits at my mama's house.
I did. And she was in there frying. I'm like, what? What?
I know.
Yes.
I know. Yeah, but you know, we're both Southern.
Yes.
And I wonder if that's a Southern thing, because since I've moved up north, which has been forever now, you know, I'll always be Southern, but I've been up here forever. But that type of community, I feel that I have it now, but it took years to get it. You have to be more intentional about it. When you move to a different place. Down south, you don't have to be intentional. You move in and, hey, baby, we over here making and it's nothing.
Uh-huh.
But you do
Exactly.
have to be intentional about finding community. So it has to be an effort.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So
Absolutely.
we shouldn't be by ourselves. We got to be by ourselves, now. Don't go out the house now. But in,
Right.
in
No fish
general,
fries now.
no, in general, we should be always be in pursuit of community because we gotta listen. It'll be a thing. It'll be a hashtag. We gotta find the fish fry.
Yes. Yes.
Hashtag find the fish fry.
Yes. Yes.
No matter where you are, because
No
that's
matter
what's.
where you are.
Yeah. We need that right now
Mm-hmm.
because when you see those images and you don't have the fish fry, you don't have that right now. You have nobody to lean on to say what is happening.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
You can't go through that alone.
No. My mom, she used to, whenever I would go, we would go down south to visit, or whenever I would go to Cleveland,
Mhm.
she would always take me and drag me to people's homes, no matter when. Come on, we're gonna go over where we going. And I'm talking about I am graduating from college. It didn't matter how old I was, we are going to visit the community.
That's right.
It's just what it was.
I
And
remember
and
that.
now I get it.
Yeah.
It's staying connected.
Yeah. You gotta stay connected.
Exactly.
Oh my goodness, I remember my dad used to put us in the car. He didn't even call the people before we went to their house.
Who calling? Nobody
And
had to call nobody.
they'd be like, Rob out there. Oh, the baby home from school. And just open the door.
Yes.
They probably end up frying fish while we were there. But you are
Exactly.
so right. We
Hmm.
didn't, yeah. We got to
But
get
back
back.
in the day, people just dropped in.
Yeah.
You better not drop in nobody's house now.
Yeah. Don't drop in. So,
Yeah.
so Rufus, um, how do we use our art
Mm.
to get these messages across? Because we're not even putting the fish fry in our plays and our musicals. And maybe if we saw those images on television and in movies, it would make us miss the fish fry. So how can we, be working, as artivists,
Hmm.
which I feel that we are, to share those ideas in our art?
I think it comes from creating content from every aspect of our lives,
Mm-hmm.
which means that the work that I create is going to be something Southern, more than likely, because
Mm-hmm.
that's what speaks to me.
Mm-hmm.
Women speaks to me.
Mm-hmm.
Old women speak to me.
Mm-hmm.
You know, um, slavery speaks to me.
Mm-hmm.
And those are things that maybe some people don't want to hear, but in my mind, I think it's very important.
Mm-hmm.
Not that we see that's what they did, that's what we came through.
Yeah.
That's how we got here because of the strength of them and of
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so it's that voice, and it could be in a different way, but it's creating work that speaks to you,
Mm-hmm.
speaks from the South,
Mm-hmm.
speaks from Mars.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care where it is,
Mm-hmm.
but creating the work and then finding a platform for it. I always say, as artists, we are those who will speak for those who will not speak or who cannot speak.
Mm-hmm.
And that is our responsibility. There are a lot of stories that we already know today that we can tell that can heal somebody else.
Yeah. Wow. You did something very bold and very courageous. You walked away from a career and went
Mm,
back to school. That
hmm.
was huge. You had a son that was, going to college soon. Um, but you went back to school to get this master's degree. What gave you the strength and the courage to do that?
Well, it began when I left the business to go back home to my son because he asked me to come home.
Mm,
That's where it began.
mm-hmm.
And those years were rough. because it was a whole different financial place.
Yeah, you have
But
been so prosperous.
exactly.
Mm-hmm.
But it was more important to me to honor him
Mm-hmm.
and to give him what he asked for, because that's what I was supposed to do. And that's what I did. And I regret none of it. My son is wonderful, beautiful. I love him. And it was worth it. And then while I was in the midst of that, I had begun directing.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm like, I know what this is. I said, but I need to still learn some more technique and terminology. And I was directing Once on This Island for 3D theatrical.
Mm-hmm.
And I was up one night. I said, let me just reach out to some colleges and see if they'll come see the show. And then I emailed Cal State Fullerton, Mark Vermont. And that night he emailed me right back. And I'm like, oh, okay. And then I invited him to the show. He came to the show, and then they offered me to come to the school. And that's how it all started. And it's a 3-year program, and I did it in 2. It was a lot, but I loved every moment of it. Because I saw that if I get this foundation, it will allow me to go to another place in my life. It will add on to who I am.
Mm-hmm.
I've always been a teacher in some capacity.
Yeah.
But this will allow me to teach on a university level. It will allow me to be in a place where I can create new work.
Yeah.
And so that's how I looked at it.
So what is your greatest fear? 2 questions. What's your greatest fear for Black people in this moment, and specifically Black men? And what's your greatest hope?
My greatest fear is complacency. Is that things will remain the same. That people will get through this moment as if it never happened. As if the anger will overcome the strive for excellence, the strive to be exceptional at no matter what it is, and that we will walk around in a fog of yesterday. That is my greatest fear.
Mm-hmm.
My hope is that my son, his generation, and those who understand that inequality is not the answer, and that this world that we're living in, that they've been taught was one way, was a lie. And now that the lie has been revealed, and that the truth is in the atmosphere, in the air, the truth about this racism, the truth about this country and how this country was birthed, how that truth is now out here for everyone to recognize and deal with, and that it will be dealt with. My hope is that that generation will begin to move the needle. Solve the problem? Probably not so much. And that Black men will continue to fight for what they believe in, and fight for their children, fight for brothers and sisters, and teach them that they are exceptional and that they can do anything they want to do. There may be different avenues to get there, but as long as you see the destination, you can make it happen. I also hope that those who have never experienced a win, that someone will take them and guide them towards a win so they know that winning is possible.
It's hard in spirit.